Alright, so this is a pretty popular situation here, pretty popular math concept. Most people know this from high school, even if they were in high school a long time ago. It's called the Pythagorean Theorem. I guess Pythagoras was the guy that apparently invented this, although some people disagree with that. Some people say there was someone in China who also discovered this, but I guess as far as we know, we have given it to Pythagoras. Somebody's got to have a name on it, I guess. He got it. But anyway, he was a strange fellow, but you can Google him and you'll see how strange he was. But anyway, this particular mathematical concept has become really popular. So let's look at this triangle right here. It's a special triangle because it has an angle right here that is 90 degrees in the corner. That is called a right triangle, and sometimes we show that by just putting a little box in there like that. And that just means this is 90 degrees. It's a right angle. That's another word for it. Okay? Now here is what Pythagoras discovered. He took one of the sides. Let's call this side A, and I'm going to put a box on it. So let's say, I don't know, let's say A was 3 by 3. It's a square. And he found the area of that, and he found it to be 9. Okay? Then he looked at another side. Let's call this side B. And let's say that it was 4 centimeters long. And if it's a square, that means all sides are 4. So he figured out the area. 4 times 4, that's 16. What he discovered is that if he was to do this for the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is the name of the side that is the longest side, which is this side right here, and we're going to call that side C here. I'm going to go get that square. Here we go. I made these to match earlier, so it would all fit nicely. Okay. What he found out, and let's say the hypotenuse was 5, and he found the area to be 25, he suddenly noticed something. If he took the area here and he added the area here, he always got this area. So 9 plus 16 is 25. 9 plus 16 is 25. Okay? And remember, these are just sides here of the triangle. So really, this is just 3 squared. That's how we got that 9. Plus, the next side was B, which is 4 squared. Remember, 4 squared will give us 16. And then the hypotenuse, or the longest side, was 5. Okay, and you square that and you get 25. So 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to 5 squared. And this worked for any right angle triangle. So he made a formula out of this, and he said, okay, well, we called this side A. We square it. We call this side B, and you square that. And you're always going to get, if you add these two, you square them and you add them up, you're always going to get side C squared. It always happens. And this is called the Pythagorean Theorem. It doesn't really matter how you write it. I often write it like this. I guess I grew up doing it this way, and it doesn't really matter which way you write it. Okay, so this is called the Pythagorean Theorem. And the cool thing is, if you know 2 sides, you can always find a third side. So let's show you another example. If you know that this side is 5, now the square of this side, it's kind of cool because the square, we actually have a square here. It's kind of neat. When we say square, we really mean 5 times 5. Okay? And if you know that side B, so side A is 5, if you know that side B is 6, it's a little bit longer. Remember the square of 6. 6 times 6 is 36. You can figure out what this side is. You can say, hey, 25 plus 36 is going to give me what's in that box over there. So 25 plus 36 is going to be 61. Now, you know I guess you don't really know the length of this side. So in order to find the length of this side, you would have to do what? The area is 61. How would you find just one length here? Well, remember, we need the number times itself to get 61. So what you do is you take what's called the opposite of squaring, the square root. So you take the square root of 61. So, I mean, it looks like this if you were to do it on your calculator. And this is what you get, 7.8. And it keeps going, but I'm just rounding it off. So this side here would be 7.8. So Pythagorean was able to find out if they give you two sides, A and B, you can quickly find C. Add up the squares. Okay, so you take A squared, then add on B squared, and you end up getting what C squared is. Okay, so what we did is we said, okay, well, 5 squared plus 6 squared is, we don't know what C squared is yet, so we just leave it. 5 squared we said is 25. 6 squared is 36. So 25 plus 36 we figured out was 61. And 61 is C squared. But we wanted to know what's just one side, so you take the square root of both sides, and that's how we came up with 7.8 as our side. And so that's what you do. You do that every time they give you side A and side B. Okay? This is what you do. But let's go to a situation where they tell you what the hypotenuse is. So they tell you what C is, and they tell you what A or B is. It doesn't really matter between A and B because it's just plus between them. It doesn't really matter. But they don't tell you one of these two. So they keep one a secret. What do you do? Well, let's move over to the next page here. Let's draw a triangle. That's a terrible triangle, but let's just go with it. So let's pretend that we know that the longest side here is 5 centimeters. And we know that this side here is 4 centimeters. But we do not know what this side is. We do not know what this is. Well, you start by using this formula. You say, okay, well, I know A squared plus B squared is always C squared. So if you want to, you can write in your numbers. So let's do that. By the way, A or B, it doesn't really matter. As long as you put the 4 either at the A or the B, we can get this. Let's just call it B because we did call it B before. So let's leave the A all alone. I guess we could put an x squared if we wanted to, but we could leave it A squared. Whatever it is, it's just something we don't know. So you can put a variable there or a letter. Anyway, 4 squared is B, and that equals 5 squared. Okay, so let's square the numbers. What's 4 squared? You get 16. What's 5 squared? You get 25. How are we going to figure this out? We want to figure out what A is. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I want to get rid of this 16 here. So I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. So we're left with A squared equals 25 minus 16 is what? That is right. It's 9. And how do you get rid of when you're squaring? What's the opposite of squaring? Square root. There we go. So A is equal to 3. And that is our side right here. We have just used the Pythagorean theorem to solve a situation where they told us the hypotenuse, and we had to figure out what one of these sides are here. And by the way, another name, and I didn't say this yet, these two sides here, they're the two shorter sides. They're not as long as the hypotenuse. These are called legs. Alright? Sometimes we just fool around with this and I say, oh wow, well, the legs, here's the legs. Let's see if I can show you. Let's just delete that. So this is a leg right here. And this is a leg right here. And I just call this, the hypotenuse is the sand on the beach. And here are the swim trunks. Okay, so there's two legs, and the sand is the hypotenuse, and there's the swim trunks. Did you need to know that bit of information? Probably not, but you know what? It's just something silly, and sometimes silly things help us remember. What else helps us remember are videos, and you can rewind this video anytime to see the two different kinds of situations that we're talking about so that you can kick some butt on your quiz. Alright, do that.